Welcome back to Why This Beer, the podcast where we sit down with the people behind the glass to ask a simple question. Why this beer? Joined as always by Darren Binema, co-host, confidant, and myself, Aslan Graves. Today, we're joined by someone whose fingerprints are all over Canadian craft beer, whether she'd say that ever herself or not. Nancy Moore spent more than 4 decades brewing, teaching, traveling, and thinking deeply about beer, from working in breweries across different countries and beer cultures to helping build and shape the brewing program at KPU. She's influenced not just recipes, but people. Many of the brewers working in Canada today either learned directly from Nancy or were shaped by someone who did. But beyond the resume, Nancy has always carried a deep curiosity about beer, what it means, how it connects cultures, and what truly makes it good. So today we're talking about the early days, the global perspective, the fundamentals that never change, and what it's like to watch generations of students step into their own brewing career. But first, in true Why This Beer fashion, Nancy, what's the beer in front of you today and why does it feel like the right one?
Well, this beer is really important to me because the Kwantlen brewed this one in honor of my retirement. And it's
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's officially called Final Lecture. We had a much funnier name, but the marketing guys wouldn't let us go with it. So this beer is inspired by a beer that was brewed at a large brewery I worked at here in the province as in the late 90s. And it was... I can't get sued for this, can I?
We're not that popular.
Nobody's going to listen. So in the late 90s, they still make Kootenai True Ale out of Creston, which is a very niche, very local,
foundational beer for my discovery of alcohol and beer in general.
That's good. You got all those weird flavors out of it, right? And we started to make these to extend the Kootenai line of beers. And this particular one that I loved was Kootenai Black Lager. And our brewmaster Kevin Ricklick at the time sat down and thought, what could he do that would be real? It would be really special. And he said, I'm going to brew a black lager, and it's going to have 6 malts, very malt forward. Sweet, malty, chocolate, very different from anything else we were brewing at the time. And we all fell in love with it. Not only just as a beer, but at my kitchen table in the summer, it was dessert. So we would use black lager and make a chocolate float with it, which was on a hot summer day in the Creston Valley. It was the best. It was the best thing.
That's incredible.
And even actually Ken Beatty will tell you that at the time this is one of his favorite beers, and he wasn't working for us. So I loved it. I left Canada, unfortunately, so I wasn't around when they finally made the decision not to brew it. But it hasn't been brewed in over 20 years, and I just talked to Kevin and said, what do we remember between us about how it was made? And we literally pulled out marketing pictures that we found the alcohol percentage on in the ads and stuff. And I sent him some a few weeks ago, and he loved it. He thought we'd done a great job, and it was what he remembered as well. So it's just part of a dark beer that I love and part of my history.
Yeah. Nice. I must say these initial sips are like you say, it's chocolate, but like kind of milky, but then just like finishes clean, crisp, smooth, like you would expect a dark lager with a little bit of like lingering roast. That's just it's nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Very clean.
And keep your second can for a chocolate ice cream float.
Yeah.
Unless you drank them both.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah. You've spent over 40 years brewing and teaching across different countries and beer cultures. Looking back, what first pulled you into brewing and what kept you curious enough to stay, I guess?
Okay. So I studied chemistry at university. And I wasn't really looking for a job. I was going to go traveling, but I went up to Canada Manpower at the University of Alberta, and I saw an ad that said Labatt was looking for technical people. And the summer before that, I had been working at the National Research Council in Saskatoon doing protein chemistry. And I met a couple of people that had either applied for the the Labatt training program or knew about it, and they all said how wonderful it was. And so I really thought, well, that sounds like fun, and I scribbled out an application. And then I realized they were flying me to London, Ontario to meet the brass, and I thought I better start taking this seriously. But I said I'd do it until it wasn't fun anymore, and I stayed there for 27 and a half years.
Oh.
There was, so why did I stay? So apparently, I only learned this much later. I was hired because I was told that the CEO of Labatt Brewing Company, or John Labatt Limited, told the operations people either they had to start hiring women or the bosses were going to do it for them. So I guess that's why I got hired. But it was
a good choice on their behalf.
Yeah.
But it was not, I'd been brought up in a family of 4 girls with a father that when he needed, physical labor or anything done, we were it. There wasn't any boys to do anything. So there was never a differentiation between what boys did and girls did. So I never even contemplated the fact that I couldn't do this. It was just, of course I can. But it was more, not difficult, but certainly more, I'm going to use the word challenging, to walk into a world where people thought I was a heretic for believing that women could make beer. And the guys in the fermenting cellar had been told by their German teachers that if I went into the cellar with my period, that the yeast would quit fermenting. Now, as far as we know, that never happened.
Wow.
So it was just a really weird, but I was stubborn enough, I guess, to stay, just to say I can do this, and it was fun,
Nice.
Beers.
What was your knowledge of fermentation process before going into that? Like, was it
nothing?
It was very much a learn on the job, and you're like,
oh, absolutely, we spent 3 years. I mean, the Labatt training program was 3 years.
Oh wow, that's very thorough. That's
great.
Great.
Working in the brewery, studying the technical literature, writing exams. I used to get grilled at taste panel every day. I had a great Peter Luthart, a great German brewmaster, was running the brewery, and Peter would have a question for me every day for me to answer in front of probably the 6 or 8 other people that were there at taste panel, to see that I was learning the right things. So it was it was great. And we went on to use the same sort of idea in a bunch of other countries. When we realized in Russia we needed to train students as brewers, we just took the model that we'd all been trained under, and we had some great people develop out of that program there that are running big companies in Russia right now.
Just really build on those fundamentals and grow from there instead of learning the fundamentals on the job.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. So it was like an apprenticeship kind of program. So you're learning everything, and I'm guessing you're learning the Labatt way of doing things, and as well, like the processes as well. I'm assuming. Yeah,
I mean, we learned the things that Labatt believed, but hey, I could pick up the phone and call Graham Stewart and ask him about fermentation and yeast. And on brewing yeast, there isn't anybody that's any better. So and the same thing, we had access to phenomenal brewing scientists that helped us understand. But we know so much now that we didn't know then.
Sure.
When I started to teach, I had some of the stuff that I was teaching our students in fermentation and microbiology, we didn't even know when I started brewing. It was still very much the art of it. This is what you do, and follow the rules. And now, for many things, we actually understand why we were doing that.
Right. Yeah, I believe it so much, especially around yeast and fermentation. Like that science has gone through so much learning. To the point, we're now like gene sequencing yeast, so that's a lot different than back then. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, back when yeast wasn't even included on Reinheitsgebot and Bavarian purity law.
That's true.
Best marketing thing.
Why there was. Yeah. Longest running, at least.
Yeah, the longest running.
Yeah.
But I used to laugh sometimes when I was with the Germans at Beck's, and I'd say, can we do this? And they go, oh, I don't know. We'll have to ask the committee. So if you actually think there's rules,
yeah,
they change.
Right.
Yeah. You've worked in brewing scenes around the world, including, I remember you telling me a bit about your time in Africa. How did those different cultures shape the way you think about beer, like both technically and philosophically?
I think the best example of that is our technical team in Russia. So, I talked to one of these guys today, so this is quite exciting. We had
great.
We had 3 Russians, 2 Canadians, a German trained at Feinsteffen and one at VLB, a Czech, an Italian trained by Carlsberg, a Flemish Belgian, and a French Belgian.
Wow.
So we pretty much covered
every beer culture. Yeah.
And we had 14 breweries across Russia and the Ukraine, and invariably, usually at 5:00 on Friday night, one of them would decide they had to call us with a question. But we would sit in a room with all those different brewing backgrounds, and we would talk about how we might solve that problem or what should happen. And somebody would say, well, we always did this. And someone else would say, well, you can't do that. And we've been doing that for 25 years. Of course you can. So but eventually, after enough discussion about why and how and really getting to what it was we were trying to solve, we would come up with the right solution for whatever we were trying to do and whatever brewery. And we always did it as colleagues who respected each other, and we respected how we do beer differently. And so, we all think about the Germans and Reinheitsgebot, and we think about, the Belgians as really good technical brewers, but Canadians are considered one of the world's best practical brewers. So we are respected globally for what we do and how we do it on a practical basis. So I think what I learned from all that is, and my students laughed at me every time I said this, because apparently it's how I answered every question, which is, it depends.
Right. Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like the very, very annoying scientific answer that you end up getting whenever you're like, so I want to do this. This is my thought. Will that work? They're like, well, it should, maybe. In theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what your goals are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it depends what's going on. There's a million different ways. And actually, it was one of the guys I worked with in Russia that I think said it best. This is part of Nancy's rules of brewing, is that brewing is a constant series of compromises. And every time we make a decision and we decide to do something, you got to remember you're going to screw something else up down the process flow somewhere.
Yeah.
So
as a balancing act.
As a brewmaster, you have to really think about, what is the choice that I'm making right now, and what's going to be the outcome of that one, and then make the right choice, knowing that, because you will screw something up.
Yeah.
May not be an important thing, or it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many variables and levers to pull, right? That you can do a million different things. Whether you need to or should do it, that's up to you. That's the fun part, I think, too.
Yeah. I think the levers are interesting, because if you think about it, they're materials. They're what materials? They're the quantities. They're the time that we use, and that's pretty much it. So if you think about it, we don't have a lot. There's a lot of different things we can do to those levers, but there's not a lot of them that we can that we have to mess about with. And yet we're expected to make a consistent product week after week, time after time, brewery by brewery. People want to know that the beer is going to taste the same. When they loved it last time, they want it to taste the same way they loved it last time.
Right. Yeah.
What's been one of the biggest hurdles, like year to year, you've seen through a brand? Like if all of a sudden, say, crop year on malt has changed, or, you know, accessibility to a certain hop, when you're trying to create consistency, especially within these larger brands that you've experienced?
Yeah. So sometimes I guess people would say we cheat, but I always make sure that when we're changing crop years, of malt, for example, or hops, that when you get your new stuff, it's first of all your 75-25 old crop, new crop.
Yeah.
Do that for a while, get the consumer used to that, 50-50.
Right.
Get them used to that. And so that, well, it may change. And your job as the brewmaster is to pull all the rest of the levers in the process to not get the change. But by blending it, there's no sudden changes, because
it's a little
consumers, we need to respect our consumers. They know more than we do sometimes about our beers. I don't know most of these things because we've totally screwed up sometimes. And then I learned that always your consumers know more about your beer than you do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. There's lots of consumers that drink more of your beer than you do.
Absolutely.
So and they'll know, and sometimes they'll let you know if it's a craft brewery, like right away. And probably for a macro brewery, they'll let you know as well. But in person, right?
But
I lived beside in an apartment in London, Ontario, beside a guy that drank Labatt Blue, and he always bought it at the brewery beer store. And one day I went over to have a beer with him, as I was wont to. And he said, Nancy, says, I don't like this beer. I want the stuff that's on the lower shelf. That's you drink that one. I went and got another batch, and I like this one better. And I'm going, Al, really?
Yeah.
And I tasted it, and it was, it was within the commercially acceptable range of beers. Parameters, yeah. And I kind of blew it off. And then I went to put my bottle in the empty, in the carton in the closet. And I realized that this was in 1980, 81, where we had just started brewing Budweiser in London. And so the brewery in London was chock-a-block with Budweiser. So they brought some beer in from Toronto. And this guy recognized the difference in the flavor between the blue in Toronto and the blue. And we did monthly, we called interplant exchanges, where you taste, all the beers, all the brand together from across the country, and make sure that there's nobody sticking out, that it's all consistent. Yeah. He drank enough of the same beer to recognize it. And I learned from that one.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. The same beer brand, but like same timeline, just different plants. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You mentioned that Canadian brewers being well respected internationally on your panel there. With the rise in Canadian lager from a craft point of view, can you define what that would be? Like, you see that in the States, there's a lot of Canadian lagers on a craft market. And to me, I'm still trying to figure out what they mean by that.
By a Canadian lager? That Canadian lager it's more, I'd say it's more full-bodied, and it's got a higher hop level than what you get out of the US. In general, that may not be entirely true with the craft lagers that are coming out from the US now, but that was certainly the take on it. I will tell you that the dry beer in Japan resulted from Japanese brewers coming here to buy malt, as they do.
Yeah.
And they tasted Canadian beer and they went, it's so dry, we love it. And so they took our processes and they took it back to Japan, and that became dry beer.
Oh, okay.
Globally. But it was just Canadian mainstream lagers.
Yeah. They just branded it a bit better.
They branded it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when we had started to do dry beers, we had to be even drier than our regular beers.
Right.
Because you're already
there. We were already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people see our care and attention, and Canada is one of the countries that Used to be. I've been in the commercial industry for a while. We were always much more obsessive about shelf life. And beer, if beer was 90 days in the market, if it goes over that, it came back. So we would never, people that are putting a year shelf life on their beers, they're kidding themselves. Right. We're getting better at oxygen, so that is beer at 1 year better than it used to be? Yeah, but it's way better at 60 and 90 days or fresh out of the tank, as
Right.
we all know.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, I wonder if that's due to like our geography too. It's like everything is so far flung in Canada.
To you need to have a tighter protocol on it.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things are going farther. Yeah.
Yeah, shipping beer is never a good idea.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, luckily the beers shipped out to you, Darren, I think arrived in all right order.
They did. They arrived great. Yeah. Thanks for doing that.
When you compare brewing when you first started to where the industry is today, what are some of the biggest changes you've witnessed, and which fundamentals, I guess, haven't changed?
I think the fact that we know more about what's going on has changed. I think that we have more.
Yeah, with the KPU program, was there just like that much more to cover? Like, you have your experience from the Labatt side, and then also your knowledge in the industry. Like, it must be a lot to cram into the program.
Too much, absolutely too much. But you could explain why. And it's so when we designed the program, we started off saying people need to know the fundamental science, and then we need to teach them how to apply it.
Right.
Because if you understand what's going on, then you can make the right decisions. And Cole told me I could name him in this, but after our first year, I ran into Cole Smith down at a beer festival, and I said, Cole, how's it going? How's this summer different from the other previous summers? And he looked at me with that beautiful smile that Cole has, and he said, oh, Nancy, he says, now when things go wrong, I know why.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe that may be not uncommon in a lot of, some places, that things go wrong, but they don't, because if they don't understand the fundamentals of what's behind it, they get themselves in trouble.
Yeah. You hate to make the same mistake like over and over again too, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why does this keep happening? Oh, the tank actually isn't chilling properly. Like, temperature gauge is off, and that's why it's actually like it's fermenting warmer than you think every time or something.
Yeah. And, so I mean, what are the fundamentals? Yeah. Clean your brewery. Clean, and then they're control of temperature control everywhere, particularly in fermentation. Keep your yeast happy. If there's nothing else people can do in a brewery, is have happy yeast. Keep it fresh. Store it well. Don't agitate it. Give it enough oxygen when you're gonna start out. Turn it over. Happy yeast makes a happy brewery. It makes the difference between good beer and pretty mediocre beer.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. And hard to do sometimes with a smaller brewery, whereas, like a bigger production brewery, brewing constantly. It's like you always have fresh yeast, and it's always lively. And I think sometimes with the smaller breweries out there that are trying to do like 8 different styles of beer for their consumers, like, hey, let's keep all this yeast happy, but only brew once a week. It's challenging.
So, that's one of the things that I wonder if we've lost, is that I spent a lot of time teaching the students how, in general, because every yeast strain's got its own personality, what are the levers you can pull in fermentation? Temperature, oxygen, pH, nutrients. You can use all those things to change the flavor that your yeast is producing. And so I wonder, and I've never really done experiment or research or anything with this, so I could be completely wrong. But I wonder if people are buying too many different yeasts that with a little more thinking about how do I get my yeast to do what I want it to do, or getting to know your yeast. I think that the brewer needs to be intimately familiar with what their yeast is going to do and how to deal with it.
When I was in Czech last year, that was one thing that I was really surprised about, is like they would always try and at Budvar target around 10 to 12 days for their primary fermentation. And as they got later in generations, they would notice the yeast would get more aggressive. So they would like trend on a lower pitch rate and a lower temperature in order to always achieve that like window of fermentation time, so it didn't ferment too quick. And like kind of purposefully making their yeast lag a little bit in order to like continue to have the same fermentation profile throughout. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like for me, I'm honestly, my experience was just I'm like, oh sweet, it's done a day quicker. Awesome.
Like, but now you've had now you have a cleaner lager possibly or something like that too, right?
Exactly.
The flavor development happens at not right after the lag phase, but it's in the growth and fermentation phase that the flavor profile is done. And if you slow that or speed it up, you're gonna get a different tasting beer.
But I think you're right, Nancy. Where like I think sometimes now, at least brewing in 2026, like we have so many options for yeasts, so many options for hops and malts, even that didn't exist even 10 years ago, honestly. That like sometimes it seems crazy to limit ourselves to like one or two yeasts. But I think like that, if you look back at, the Nottingham breweries in Ontario or like places like that, where like they would have had really just one yeast strain for all their beers and use it for everything, you're going to make like pretty consistent beer that way with like just one yeast strain. And then, maybe trying to like, okay, we're going to pitch it colder or pitch less of it into this beer. And maybe it's not really a Kolsch, but we can try to get those like flavors that you would get in a Kolsch style beer with this lager yeast or something like that. So
and
I think it's good advice, right? Just maybe not thinking like, okay, I need to get a new pitch of that for this one-off beer or something like that. Plus, it's cheaper.
It's way and it's better. It's easier. It's way cheaper. If you're going to buy fresh dried yeast or every time, that's a pile of money. And you can do it. You can do it on your own by getting a yeast strain that you know how to convince
manipulate.
Convince it to do something different. I think there's a lot of things, as you say. There's some things I look and I go, I actually think this is kind of funny, because there was a time at the start of craft beer that people were talking about big breweries and all the chemicals they were using. And I will tell you, a lot of the stuff that I see being used in breweries now, we wouldn't have been allowed to touch. We would never use that sort of stuff to make beer. We would be expected to do it by the tried and the true, using the fundamentals of brewing. But not having the experience using some of those magic powders and whatever, I can't argue with it. I just shake my head and going, really?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
There's a lot of various new things and tools that you can definitely like get away with to manipulate whatever you're using. Maybe that's after fermentation, before, or during.
And it, as always, it depends. But I remember at one point somebody came to a master brewers meeting in Ontario, which must have been a long time ago when I was working. I was still a trainee, and they did a whole presentation on enzymes. Well, we would have had no enzymes in our processes in Labatt, like not a chance. But what we have in Canada is we have great malt, so we don't need to do a lot of that. And then I got to Russia, where we actually started up our own JV malting operation and we brought people over to teach the farmers how to grow barley and brought new barley strains in because they were using gallons of enzymes, but they had to. In those breweries,
just had to convert it.
Something had to convert it, and there wasn't anything in from the malt.
Right.
But it was we had a lot of hard conversations about should we be controlling diacetyl by controlling our fermentations properly, as opposed to people throwing in Matrix or whatever its official name is right now. So the enzymes
ALDC or something.
ALDC, exactly. So, you got to decide who do you want to be when you grow up? What kind of brewer do you want to be?
Well, I think some things have changed too, where it's like, well, I probably wouldn't have used ALDC before I started throwing like 800 grams per liter of hops in there too. So
exactly.
Depends on what you're using it for, I guess. Yeah. So your time at KPU helped shape a generation of brewers. What was most important to you to pass on to students beyond just recipes and processes?
Oh, okay. So I used to tell them they were going to become detectives.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually had some assignments that I would give them a clue and, 2 pieces of quality data, and they would look at it and go, their goal was to identify the source of a microbiological infection and what the bacteria was. And they would be given a little bit of information. They'd have to tell us what they learned from it. And then they had a list of 10 other pieces of information they could have. And they would ask for 2 more, and we would give it that. And then the question was, well, what have you learned from that one? And now what do you need to know? So we made them go through the process of problem solving. And so problem solving, I've spent time teaching people a formal 7-step problem solving method, which sounds silly, but it makes you think through things like, what actually is the problem I'm trying to solve here versus what's the symptom of the problem? Right. So I'd say problem solving, critical thinking. You can follow somebody else's recipe and you can follow an SOP, do what you're told. But if you're going to be a great brewer, you need to be able to solve problems and think critically about what's going on. So, that's for all our classes. It's getting people to think about what's actually happening and why.
Totally. Yeah, it's great advice. I think Aslan and I could both attest to, that's most of what we've done as brewers. And it's whether you like it or not, there's always a problem to be solved. So it's
a lot of creative solutions.
Yeah.
And that was one of the fun things about being. I once spent a year living in Nigeria, and the job that they needed me to do there wasn't taking a whole lot of time. So I was given another job. I got to be the technical director of a 6 million hectoliter business. And who knew you didn't know they made that much beer in Nigeria, did you? Anyway, people would come to my office just for coaching, just to find out, talk to me, and because they all knew me from my world in London and in Diageo, and so I would work with them on problems, but I would try not to solve the problem with them. I would try and get them thinking about what was going on. And after I got back here to Canada, I had 2 people call me. And I just thought this was magical. They both said pretty much the same thing. Since you left, I've been given a big promotion. And I think it's because of the coaching that, we did together. But it's a big job.
That's great.
Sometimes I don't know what to do. And when I don't know what to do, I sit at my desk and I ask myself, what question would Nancy ask me right now? That's it. How much better does the world get than people are looking at the questions that need to be asked, not the answer, but really what's the question?
Yeah. If you can teach that, like teaching how to problem solve, that's then you can yeah, that you can solve it all yourself, which is great.
Yeah.
Or ask the right questions to people like yourself, or
to
also
right
in the
people,
industry that might know the answer too. That's also something I think Aslan and I have done in the past, is like reach out, find people that you can reach out to, be like, hey, have you had this problem with this malt? Like, we just used it, and oh yeah, you have to crush it like way less or more or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got an answer for you, but yeah, what is the problem you need to be solving?
Yes.
And it is like super important too. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I feel like leaning on your team to, like, I think this has kind of been like a theme of what you've discussed, is like collectively coming together with a solution, because like sometimes it just takes some fresh eyes, or an approach that like you're kind of pigeonholed in one way of thought, so coming at it from another person's perspective, and then you're like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. And being willing to try something different. We used to just mostly for fun, but between the Belgians and Canadians, when we were working, closely together, we would argue a lot about mashing and how many steps you really needed to mash properly and get good flavor. And some of it was in jest, but I think over the years I have learned that our single step infusion works like a hot damn, but it doesn't give the complexity that the multi-step and Emily Kokonis and I, who when she was at Quanland, now at Beach House, we still laugh at each other when we start talking about we start geeking out about European lagers versus North American lagers, but I learned by all those discussions with people and being willing to try things that there is a difference, and so you pick what you need for whatever's going on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's that's a good point too, where it's like, pick what you need for what your goal is too. Like, there's not a better way. Some people might be strong in one camp or the other, but there's not a better way to make it. Just whatever is going to work best for your goal.
Yeah. Okay, there are some things that are I think should never be messed with, like sterilization of your wort lines before you go into a fermenter, because that is the place where you can. If you're going to get
that terroir.
No, you can't. You can call it nasty bacteria that you don't want in your beer. It's just not pediococcus that you got to get rid of from the hot water tank. It's some very scary things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Lots of practical application, obviously, in a brewery when there's lots of places for an infection to take place. It's nothing to sneeze at, for sure.
Well, it's nothing to sneeze at, and especially with the move from many breweries into non-alcoholic beers, because frankly, that terrifies me.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in your teaching career, Nancy, where you realized the impact you were having on the industry? Like, you influenced so many people at this point.
Anyone that's seen me at a beer awards thing will notice that I will have a little piece of paper, and I'm recording the number of wins.
Beer awards that you had your hands in?
Beer awards that my students had their hands in.
Nice.
Because it doesn't matter if we can brew great beer at Quanland. I mean, we had Brad McQuaid give us a brew house that is, astounding. So if we can't do it, if we can't do it, we shouldn't be teaching people.
Sure.
It's the impact of our students that really makes a difference. It's how they are impacting what's going on. So we're normally 35% of the prizes have one of our students involved somewhere. So that always makes me pretty happy. I think also that without fail, every year, usually at a beer festival or a awards thing, some student will come up to me that has been around for, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. That's been gone from the program for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And they'll come up to talk to me about the management class that we do planning and we do management, how to manage safety and environment, and we do leadership. And literally without fail, somebody will come up and say, that was the most valuable course I took. I didn't know that at the time,
Totally.
Yeah.
but I know now that that's really what gave me what I could go forward with. And so that always makes me happy because I think those
I
things.
feel like so many people end up in this industry simply for the fact that you want to make beer. And then when it comes down to managing a team, when it comes down to, having those conversations of like motivating your team, empowering, and even just down to scheduling.
Yeah.
Just like, oh man,
scheduling is important.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, I did not realize that this is going to be a part of it.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I actually made them do production planning using a piece of paper and a pen. Because I really believe that you can have the fanciest system in the world, but if you don't actually know what it's doing or what you need it to do, then you could get some pretty nasty surprises come out. So I think there's value to everybody. I think there's value to learning to write it down and follow that beer I brewed this week, and it's not going to be mature next week, and it's not going to be mature. And when can I actually use it?
Yeah. Especially when you have like a tight production schedule, like, okay, like now that tank is open, right? Now what's going into that tank? And in 2 weeks, what's going to be in that tank? And
where's your bottleneck? What do you need? What do you need to protect at all costs? It was, I think, Tony DeWald at Trading Post was really clear. There was never BBTs went out. They were filled. They were completely emptied and packaged because that was his bottleneck, and he couldn't afford to leave a half of a BBT sitting there because he wouldn't be able to produce for the rest of the thing. And having the students hear that from Tony in the real world was very valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Don't always recognize that as like, okay, things are getting produced like all the time. Especially when you're just looking at a tap list, you just see like, oh, they probably brew this one here and there sometimes. It's like, no, like a lot of these beers are being brewed like constantly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Strange Fellows, they're brewing Talisman. I can tell you that like every week probably.
Yep.
To keep up with that beer.
Yeah.
It's not just something they do all the time. I'm sure they're turning tanks quickly on that kind of thing.
And that's the one you don't ever want to be the brewmaster that runs out of.
Yeah, exactly. Not popular after that at that
very,
point. No.
very bad. Don't run out of beer, especially not in May.
Yeah.
No,
and it's also
we
just
run out of beer every
things...
month, so it's normal. Yeah.
It's also one of those things where it's just like, nickel and diming a tank is inefficient. Like that's 2, 3, 4 more system CIPs that you maybe didn't need to do. That's like the setup, the teardown. That can, especially if you're like, say, a small 10-hectare brewery, that like you'll lose like liters that'll add up to kegs that'll add up to like margins that are sizable at that volume. So It's,
and none of us can afford to lose margin just about now.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Now more than ever, for sure.
Yeah.
So you've seen trends come and go over decades. How do you think brewers can balance innovation with respect for tradition and technique?
That's interesting. So innovation's really important. Thinking about innovation is really important. And so I would go back to I had a very fancy job title in InBev technology development. Anyway, you don't want to know what it was. Didn't fit on a business card. But we started having really good conversations about innovation. And one of them was, what's going to happen to beer with a generation that has been brought up on McDonald's burgers and sweet fizzy drinks?
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of seeing right now what happens with a generation like that.
Yeah.
So how do we combat that? You know, some people have done a great job of combining tradition with that sweetness. The spruce tip beers, you know, they're beautiful. They're sweet. They've got a fruity cherry flavors to them, but they're a traditional beer. So it's like, how do we do that? And yeah, so I think innovation starts with learning what does your consumer want.
Yeah.
Which kind of sitting around in the tasting room or in the taste in the not tasting room, taste in the tap room, or not even in a tap room, watching what people are drinking outside your place.
Totally.
To going down to you know, the Alibi Room or Magnet and say, what are people, or outside of a beer place even, if you go to a bar, what are people drinking? When I was in InBev Global Innovation, we actually used to go to grocery stores.
Right.
And we would go through it was kind of a game. You'd go through one of these great, huge grocery stores in some city, and you'd go, well, what's the weirdest product that you didn't expect ever to find? What's the packaging in there that looks like maybe would be interesting for us? So it's looking beyond what our mindset is, to say, what can we do to be relevant? What do our consumers need? And how do we be relevant? How do we continue to be relevant to them?
Yeah.
Because I think
I feel like if you're staying in your own tasting room, you kind of in your own echo chamber in a lot of sense.
Yeah. Or even just like, seeing what other breweries in your own region are doing can be a trap too, where like look to other places, look to the States, look to Europe and see what are they doing there, what's working there.
Yeah.
Or even like, you know, what's inspiring you, what's inspiring other people, like what stories are kind of resonating with people, not only brewers, but consumers these days as well. Yeah, I think it's no mystery, like you said, with like sweet, like high fat food and sweet beverages, that like hazy IPAs are popular. It's like no mystery, easy through line for that.
Easy correlation,
Yeah, and you like, I go into like the kitchen at our restaurants and like at 8 a.m. those guys are drinking like white monster drinks. Right, not coffee, nothing bitter, right? Like that's a thing. Whereas like, you know, it would have been like coffee and cigarettes, now it's sweet vapes and Monster energy drinks. So everything is sweet and fruity and saturated right now, right? So it's no mystery that like hazy IPA is also the number one seller for a lot of craft breweries, at least. And I think bitterness is starting to, like, I don't know, maybe it's just older brewers palates like myself that are like, okay, really craving this like bitterness in lagers, bitterness in IPAs. It's like, everything else is so sweet. It's like a cleansing. Bitterness is so refreshing, I think, these days.
Part of it is also what you get used to. When I moved to Russia, and then Belgium and hung out there, when I came back to Canada, I found all our Canadian beers, which I drank very successfully for years. Very sweet. And, okay, so my taste had gotten used to, instead of a 12 to 14 BU, I was now acclimatized to 25 to 30 BUs.
Right.
So I found it difficult to come back. I was also got used to 500 mils instead of 355 or whatever. You get into a habit without your drinking. So how do we find out what the people that aren't drinking beer are saying and what they're looking for? And is there some way we can do that? Or is there some way we can start to introduce them to more sophisticated flavors? What's the entry drug to get them in? I didn't say that. You know, how do you get people to try something and then move them along to something else? And I think it can be done, but
I heard that like bitterness is one of the few sensations on your palate that you don't necessarily fatigue from. So like it's something your body kind of gets a bit of like an endorphin rush from bitterness. And like it's something your body kind of seeks or chases. So like that idea of like getting acclimatized to a 25, 30 IBU beer and then coming back and not getting that, you're like kind of like, oh, well, it's now missing something. And there is something within that style of beer where it's like it dries your palate a little bit. It still is crisp and clean, but it like lingers a little bit and makes you want to take another sip.
Right.
But I would agree, like sweet is definitely where the market is right now. Like we've got like younger guy on the packaging team that like loves the Hula Hula Sour. That's been his beer, and he's literally been on the packing team for 5 years. Like he like basically when he was 19 he started, and he's like stuck around. He's great. And he's just like, yeah, no, this is, and he's my sample market whenever I'm like, what do like your friends drink? They're like, oh, mostly like vodka sodas.
So the interesting beverage to compare it with is Scotch. There is sort of there was an age that people started to switch to drink Scotch. We don't want to wait that long for them, but it's that question. So yeah, it really is the question. How do we deliver something interesting? And I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know quite what it is quite yet.
Right, but like the next challenging kind of beverage to that consumer that would have been like, okay, I'm older now, I'm refined, gotta drink Scotch now. And
so how do we make beer then?
How do we make beer?
How do we make beer the sophisticated choice? For the people that are drinking all those things.
I think too.
Lucre side pull taps of kettle sours.
There you go. It's extra exorbitant. But I think too, like we're like branding is always changing too, and like how we're branding things is. You see it a lot with craft, especially the bigger brands these days are getting better at branding their own products that are just, regular hellless lagers, but people are interested in them. And then, that's advertising been key for like the macro breweries of the world. That's their bread and butter. So I think for craft, at least, we're starting to get better at it. It's like, we don't need to call everything exactly what it is, like to the style. Maybe our wit beers can be, like fruited white beers, like that's, or whatever, wheat beers that people are accessible to people instead of making it so hard to understand, I guess. There's always that balance of like respecting tradition, I find, where like I want to respect the tradition where these beers come from, but also make it easy for people that don't know anything about beer to be like, I don't know what to order. Like, okay, try this one. You might like this one. It's like citrusy, that kind of thing.
Don't need to call it like American Berliner Weiss. And then people are like, well, what's that?
Getting over ourselves. So
sometimes,
being getting in the mind of the consumer, and what the consumer is interested in, and then the challenge becomes, if you can figure out what the consumer wants, how do we translate that into our processes and our beers? So it's like, because consumers on taste tests frequently say they very frequently say they like sweet things. Even 20 years ago, they were saying they preferred sweet things. So we know that's a reality. But the other thing that people used to talk about was refreshing, that they wanted a refreshing beer. But okay, guys, what does that mean? And how does that relate?
Is
to...
sweet refreshing or
no? Sweet's not. I know that much. Sweet is not refreshing.
Yeah.
But we spend. People have spent a lot of time and money. Looking at things like clean bitterness will be refreshing. Less sweetness will be refreshing. Higher carbonation will be refreshing. People have gone so far as to use those the compounds that create the cooling flavor in gum.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
like
you can put
menthol.
those in
Menthol.
beer.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
yeah. You can only drink one or two of them because it's additive, and if you get over about three of those, it's just it goes to your head. But I
But
don't
there's
know
some of
the
the like the French hops kind of have a bit of that like cooling menthol
cooling
kind of
thing. Okay.
character.
Maybe
Yeah.
that would work.
But
I don't think that the people I was working with, we never quite got to how do you actually go into a brewery and deliver refreshing in fashion that the
yeah.
consumer sees that. So there's another thing to think about. If the craft brewer, if the craft drinker is interesting and refreshing, and I think on a hot summer day they are.
Sweet. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Great.
From your perspective then, this leads in really nice. What does good beer really mean? And how has that definition evolved over the years for you?
Well, I think good actually is not a good word to use. So I think there are two. I think with any beer, there's, first of all, there's design. So the design is what it's meant to be. And usually, I don't know, the big guys, you go out and you spend a lot of time on consumer interviews and you talk to people about what they wanted and you design something that met the consumer's needs. Ultimately, the design better be related somehow to what the consumer wants to drink. We used to be able to just throw anything on a tap and people would drink it. And if you're small enough, if you've got a small enough brewery and a small enough batch size, in your tasting room, you can get away with that. If you get bigger, you can't. So you need to know what it is you want to brew, what the outcome is going to be, and then the other question is quality. And quality for me is adherence to design. So how good are you at actually delivering what you promised the consumer day after day, week after week, consistently? And there's a lot of beers, and I offend many people when I use Budweiser as the example, because Budweiser has a very specific design. It's been developed over years with a lot of money spent in talking to consumers, and they sell a little bit of it.
It's okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah, they sell a lot of it. So I don't care if you like the design, because the people they're selling to do like the design and they want it. But from quality, so you can say I don't like that beer. I don't like the way I don't like the design of it. But I don't think any of us can say, from my experience with Bud, we can't call it bad beer. It's good quality beer. It's high quality beer, because there is no room to hide, and they spend a lot of time and effort to make sure that every time you get one, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, it's consistent.
So they adhere. The quality is really high because they adhere to the design.
Right.
So there's some beer that's undrinkable, but that could be because it's badly designed, or it could be because it's not good quality. And we can sit at a table and argue with any given glass that we're drinking what the problem is. I know what's the hop variety? 1019? Is it the one that's got coconut in it?
Oh,
I
that's
hate
Sabro.
Do not ever give me. I don't think coconut belongs.
1019's the peach candy one.
Yeah, but it's got coconut.
It's got coconut too. That one too.
So for me, I will never drink a beer with that design, because it's just offends me greatly. Doesn't matter how high quality it is. So that just doesn't work for me. But I know, and I'm willing to judge that, and it's really a struggle when you're judging to go through this thing that offends you really, really greatly, and look at it just on the technical, parameters. How
merit.
does it? What is the merit of this beer, other than coconut doesn't belong in beer? Sorry. I feel the same way about lavender.
Yeah.
I think that's that's just a brewer's road dig there. Moody Ales is a lavender beer.
That's right. Yeah.
Lots of coconut porters.
Coconut porters. What are you trying to say? Yeah.
I think Nancy just doesn't like Port Moody.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah. Row token reverse.
That's what we're here for. We're here for the spill the tea.
Yeah. No, I do feel like coconut is like the cilantro of beers, though. I think people either they love it or they hate it. Yeah. Some people cannot get enough coconut. You're like, well, okay. What do you want? Superflux has like 2 coconut brands now, so
Yeah.
they're
Two?
coconuts.
Good luck to them. As long as they don't want to sell it to me, they're fine.
There you go. One
Not
less.
target market.
Yeah.
I am. I have been told over the years, right from the very first days I started in the beer business, that I wasn't the target market. So there we go. I tried to get to some of the marketing guys to go, you could talk to me about how to market beer to women.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Besides black lagers, what do you like to drink? What are your favorite beer styles to drink?
What are my favorite? So, okay, I'll say it one more time. It depends. So I drink a very different beer on a hot Saturday afternoon than I do, on a rainy day, in Vancouver.
Which is all this week.
Which is all this week. That's true. I have a lot of my heart is with Guinness, so there's always Guinness in my fridge.
Nice.
I also make sure that I always have my fridge has an assortment always of, it has a portfolio, and usually the portfolio will be, I got to have some lagers, I got to have some pale ales, I got to have some IPAs, got to have some dark beers, because people come and they expect to find absolutely anything in my fridge. It also depends on what brewery I've been to recently. So I went to see Aslan, and I have some of the brown ale. It's gone.
There you go. Great.
That's gone.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's a good sign. I had to stop off at Brass Neck the other day for something, so I've got a whole mixture of beers from there. We had a beer session at Bridge. So what I drink depends on where I've been, because I like to buy beer at the brewery because you guys make more money and the beer is fresher, and having beer that my friends have produced makes me happy.
Nice. Yeah. Like accumulating it as you go along. It's nice.
Yeah.
Nice way to get beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate
and that's part of my job. My goal is to keep all you guys in business.
We appreciate it. It's great. Keeps the salary, keeps the lights on.
Keeps the lights on, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was my economic development I had 2 economic development projects during COVID. One was I had a beer every day, and when I ran out, I would get on my bicycle and I would ride out from Kitsilano to East Van, and I know exactly how many 4-packs of beer I can get in my bicycle pannier and not have my bike fall over on the way home.
Yeah.
And then the other one was to buy art.
Is that trial by error, or is that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you've retired from teaching, how are you hoping to enjoy beer differently?
I don't think it'll be very different.
You're still going to be critical?
I'm still going to be critical. I still go into the new brewery, and I always order, unless I know the brewer. So I will go into Main Street in a month or so and see how they're doing. I will go and have a lager. Okay, because that's the first thing I do. Because I just want to know if they know what they're doing. If they know how to run a fermentation, then I'm willing to trust them on many other things. So am I going to change? No, I don't think so.
Good. Don't go change.
I will continue to. The beers that are close to my heart will continue to come home with me, and
that's great.
And you treated yourself to a new kayak. What do you have planned over the next bit?
How
many beers can you fit in that?
Okay, so when we go on a long trip, here's the part of the menu planning is there are 2 beer and 1 glass of wine for every participant for every day we're out. Oh, wow. So there's a 4:00 beer. So cocktails and appetizers are at 4:00. So I need to be off the water.
Like a sundowner.
Like a sundowner. Yeah, no. There's a cocktail, which is it's always a beer. And I have perfected I have a mesh bag with a 100-foot line, and you go find the perfect round rocks, and your beer goes in the mesh bag, and it goes down into the water where there's a flow of currents so that the cold water gets on and the beer gets cold.
Smart.
and then there'll be another beer at dinner, and then some people will have wine at dinner, so there's an extra beer for me after dinner, and they get but it is a very carefully planned packing.
Yeah.
And the
There you
beers go in the front of the boat on the bottom, so the water keeps them cold. But there's that
Smart.
area at the very front of a boat of a kayak that you can put your chair, your lawn chair, beach chair. You can put your sleeping pad, and you can put your beer up in the nose of your kayak. So there we go.
There we go.
Smart.
Some hot tips.
Yeah.
And I
seems
learned,
like much how I pack for my bike packing trips.
There we go. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. Gets lighter
And
with
I
every
learned
day.
that-
Oh,
90
I'm literally counting the grams, and then I'm like, and then that'll make more room for beer.
Yeah, exactly. I learned in the 90s when we had with Labatt Genuine Draft, we had the 32-sided can. I don't know if any of you remember that, but it really was a fluted can. It was a fluted can.
Crazy, yeah.
That had 32 sides. It was really beautiful. It looked nice, but if you drop that on a rock when you're taking it from your kayak to your campsite or vice versa, invariably the flutes catch the rock and they break, whereas on a round can it will float up. So don't take fluted cans on a kayak trip. It's a bad idea. You drink too many of them at breakfast because you can't it's leaking. You can't put it back in your boat.
Yeah. You're like, why is it wet in here?
Exactly.
It's like, oh no.
So anyway, yes, I have 2 kayak trips planned this summer, and which will be fun as it always is. And I'm actually one of them I'm very excited about because Alan Couquier, one of our graduates who was the brewer at Ucluelet Brewing, is now working for Parks Canada, and he has promised me he's going to, the week I'm going to be out in Barkley Sound, he's going to make sure he's on the water, and he's going to come down over, and I get to hang out with him a little bit and find out how the world of being a parks person is compared to being a brewmaster.
Yeah, that it would be different for sure. Yeah. Still a busy summer, no matter what. So that. Yeah. Cool. That's fun. Yeah, you must have Pardon me?
Life is fun.
Yeah. You must have lots of connections now with all these students all over the place. So
absolutely.
Hooking me up with some free beer, I hope.
Oh, I don't want free beer. Like I said, my job is to keep you guys in business. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So for brewers just entering the industry today, what advice feels the most important for you to pass on? You
better be passionate about it. So passion for beer, it's what keeps us in it, I think. I mean, at Labatt, when we decided who could be a brewery manager, they had to have a couple of things. One, they had to have worked at 2 of the 3 of brewing, packaging, or quality control. And they had to have passion for beer. And if we didn't think they cared enough about the beer, they were never running one of our breweries. And I think that, when the world is tough, you got to really want to do what we're doing. And I think then I would say the same. I'd probably say many things. Respect your consumer. Be particular. I love Ian Hill's email. The way Ian ends his emails, it's particularist, and I think that's what a good brewer needs to be. So be prepared to be particular about what you're doing.
Never settle.
Never settle. Never settle. Yeah. And be curious. Ask the right questions.
Feel like you have lots of mantras and stuff.
I have many mantras.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing this podcast with us, and it's lovely to chat and hear your words of wisdom and get re-inspired about being particular about beer. If people want, usually we ask people where they're going to buy your beer. So if they wanted to buy this beer, it's probably going to be gone by the time this podcast is out. It's already gone. Yeah.
It was gone by 2:00 in the afternoon. They put it on sale at noon, and it was gone by 2:00. But
So
maybe if
yeah.
enough of us go and request, maybe the KPU brewery will put it on as one of their regular beers. I
there
don't
you
know.
go. Yeah.
So maybe Creston will brew another batch.
Yeah.
And one of my students is working there now. One of our
Oh,
graduates
there you
is
go.
working there now. So,
Yeah.
and as I have a sister there, I have to stop at the brewery every time. So I will find out. I will suggest that it's still a loved beer by many of us.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The forever lecture. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
you'll never retire.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks so much for doing this. And I guess if people want to find out more about KPU, they can do that and the brewing program there. And
yeah, KPU Brew.
KPU Brew. Throw that in the old Google, and you can learn more about their brewing program there at KPU in Langley. I think they're even offering maybe some different options, not just like a 2-year program or something. I thought I read something about like a 1-year program too.
You can do a 1-year program. You can do a series of courses and get a it's not a badge, but it's something like
diploma
that,
or something.
a
Yeah.
certificate for taking those, and they've set up so there's one on brewing and one on management. There's a number of different sort of streams that you could do, and then there's some short courses. I taught chemistry, the short course in chemistry last August, and I hadn't done chemistry for a long time. Anyway,
Good times.
thank you for reaching out. This has been so much fun, and I love. It's just I love beer, and I love my beer people.
Yeah,
it's
it's.
I mean, that's been the great thing about this podcast, is giving us a chance to like kind of chat and just like record these conversations instead of them being like huddled in the corner at a conference somewhere over a loud PA.
Yeah. Screaming over the BC Beer Awards or something like that.
Yeah. And Stephen Quinn's getting mad at us.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, but you didn't tell me if you liked the beer.
No, we did.
That was the first thing I said at the beginning. I was like, it's got this beautiful chocolate character.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
the beer is great. Yeah.
Credit to the students
Yeah.
for executing it so well.
Executing it to the design.
Actually, I got to be part of it. They actually let me be part of brewing this one.
Great.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two heck of it all.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Well, thanks so much again for doing this. If people want to learn more about the podcast, they can follow us on Instagram at WhyThisBeer for episodes that we put out in the near future. If people want to support Aslan and I, you can buy our beer wherever you can buy good beer in BC: Main Street Brewing Beer, Neighborhood Brewing Beer, and Yellow Dog Brewing. And thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Next time.